Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim Grisanzio, and I'm back here to talk with a good friend, Franco Ucci. We're going to talk hacking today. And Franco, welcome to the program.
Hey, Jim, good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. We met live, and actually, we met virtually last year for the Groundbreakers virtual tour of Australia, actually all of APAC. And so I would like to meet you live one day, actually in Australia. That would be kind of cool too. But today we're here to talk about hacking, and you were involved in this. It's Global Hackathon World Innovation Day. It was called. It was a couple of weeks ago, and tell me about it. What did you guys do there?
So the event itself was a 3-day event. Went from the 16th to the 19th of April, and it focused on the United Nations day that occurred. They've actually got a World Creativity and Innovation Day on the 21st of April, and we had an event from the 16th to the 19th specifically to focus on 3 sustainable development goals. They've got 17 sustainable development goals as part of the United Nations, but we picked 3 of the 17. People that know them would know them as 3, 4, and 8, but they are health, education, and economic growth and decent work. So health, education, and economic growth.
Interesting. Okay. So Oracle was also a sponsor of the event, and you in your role, I mean, you're a senior director of Oracle Cloud Strategy in Australia and actually New Zealand as well. So it was many people from Oracle were involved as well, right?
Yeah, so the event itself had 43 mentors from Oracle. Those mentors came from around the planet. We had people as from Ireland, people in the US, people in Europe, people in India, Singapore, China, through to Australia and New Zealand, actually acting as mentors for the people that were participating. And if there was a team or a group of people that wanted to use some Oracle technology, the mentors were there through that 3-day time, really to show them how quickly they can do something and, maybe provision something or get something up and going or help them with a problem.
Interesting. Okay. So this was, I was watching some of the videos of some of the people who were, participating and some of the organizers as well. And this was sort of, billed as this global hackathon. Okay. So everybody was virtual. Everybody is distributed. First question is, how many sort of people were participating in the event? And then, how did they work? How did they were able to get work done when everybody was remote?
That's a good question. So we had 3,800 plus people, 3,800 people registered to participate. Those people themselves, as they went through the event, we had you could say keynotes and events letting people know what was going to happen when. And there was a period of time people could do some speed meetings, and using Slack, it's really a very simple way for me to say, hi, I'm Franco Ucci. I'm from Adelaide, Australia. I know a little bit about Python. I love, there's 3 machine learning algorithms I'm into, and I'm interested in finding a team that's going to work on healthcare or on decent work. And so as people registered, they'd go into that Slack channel, and then they would actually just, effectively cut and paste a little bit about themselves. And then there's the opportunity for people to have a quick Zoom session or a quick Skype or, quick catch up with each other to see if they found something in common to team up together.
Interesting. So I think, people might already be sort of in general used to doing some of this communications work globally, obviously for obvious reasons. But I focusing on some of these projects, you mentioned health education and so health education and economic issues. It was interesting to see some of the projects that either people were discussing or working on, to solve, not just projects that people are sort of interested in, but things that are actually going to help people globally. And that's what was so interesting about this. It wasn't a hack just for hacking on technology for the sake of playing with technology. People were trying to solve real world problems that real people are suffering from, globally. I've been to many hack fests and they're very, very interesting, but this is the first one I think that had a real social component to it. So it wasn't only engineers involved, and developers, there were other people involved as well. So talk a little bit about some of the ramifications of hacking on technology, building real things for a social good, essentially.
Yeah, to actually help frame that, I'll talk about some of the lead up activities that we did. We met with the chair of bioethics from UNESCO, Dr. Russell D'Souza. And Dr. Russell talked about the Universal Declaration for Human Rights. He introduced that document to me. I felt embarrassed. I felt like I should have known about that document because as he went through it, he basically explained, if someone from another planet was going to come to a planet Earth and try and teach us how to be good and kind to each other, that's what this document was about. And it talked about, everyone's got a right to education, healthcare, consent, privacy. He effectively had a set of guidelines on how we should live and, how do we make sure we don't create problems for ourselves, how we should be open to opinions and things like that. And then he actually he set those ground rules, and then he basically highlighted that an organization like Oracle, with its technology like the database and what it's got with the cloud, we're in the perfect position to help make a contribution to this. And how do we help people understand that the technology component is possible today? And with data, there's a role to play. So that was quite, it went from being inspiring to realizing we've got a sense of responsibility with what we've got. And what was scary, it actually maps to Oracle's mission, which is to help see data in new ways and unlock endless possibilities. The other person who also, reinforced that sense of responsibility was Professor Gillian Triggs, who's the Assistant Secretary for the Protection of Refugees with the United Nations. So we've actually got a interview with her that went for a period of time, about 15 minutes. And she talked about, displaced refugees, in 1910, 1920 was about 2 million on the planet. Today, we've got 70 million displaced refugees.
Wow. Yeah.
And so the question is, what can we do to help them? And, it's what can you do with those things that we read about in that Universal Declaration for Human Rights, right? So it all sort of comes together. So when people see those 3 sustainable development goals, there's an array of ways which we can help people, whether it is about just getting educational content and making it available such that if you've got a mobile phone, how do I access that content? And if I access that educational content now, what should I see next? Or who else is looking at that same content so we can, do some tutorials together or learning together. So that was one area of, investigation that occurred. There's another one that related healthcare and decent work together. And this came from a small country in Europe. I won't say who it was or where it was from because the winners are still being determined. But this one, basically showed that, as elderly people that start to get some free time, they're also probably the perfect people to actually help with families that are very busy, that have got young families, young kids. So, if someone's an elderly person, maybe someone like me, do I have time to actually pick the kids up for school for this busy family? And maybe because of my background, I'm going to do some Italian cooking and, give them 1 or 2 meals a week, etc. Or maybe make a few more meals and make it available to other people. So this group came up with this idea of elderly people that, have still got some, who may be a bit lonely and have got time and skills to share, whereas you got people that are busy young families that are time poor, that really want their children being brought up in a village style type thing. So you pick up little, I've just given you 2 examples, but just little snippets of, problems that people have picked up. And it's really clear, some sort of website, some sort of portal, the role of data, machine learning with recommendations, etc.
It's fascinating. So it's really great to hear that people inspired by by using technology and building technology to help people, right? So I mean, it seems that your team there in Australia, in Asia, has a lot of experience in dealing with hackathons. I mean, this has been evolving for you guys.
That's a good question. This is the 3rd hackathon in the last probably 12 months. We were planning to be a part of a hackathon in July 2020. It was called Build with AI. We were hoping to get 200 people at that event. Because everything was COVID related, we set up virtual, online registrations, hoping to get 200 people. We ended up getting 1,800 people participating.
Wow.
A lot of people outside of our own country. And then we worked out there's no reason why we can't support this, because it's all virtual anyway. So that was a brilliant event, had a strong feel-good factor. There was a lot more people that really got an appreciation that Oracle is a cloud player. We can turn on technology within minutes, whether it's autonomous, whether it's analytics, whether it's App Express, whether it's data science. So we actually then said to ourselves, I wonder when the next hackathon is going to happen, thinking we'll get something similar. And then we ended up supporting the Digital Defense Hackathon in November, and that had 2,300 people.
Wow.
So then we said to ourselves, we've got a bit of confidence here. We've also got an awareness we should, we're responsible in helping get stuff out there that makes a difference. And that's when we came across the World Creativity and Innovation Day with the United Nations. And, as I explained, that's gone brilliantly with lots of great learning, lots of fun, lots of people meeting each other, in a global way.
Yeah, it's well, thanks a lot for that overview, and I'm really excited to hear about the trend. Actually, the whole lead up. It just it bodes well for developers inside of Oracle who are interested in getting involved with these things globally. And so it's really great that we have the ability to do that. We have the ability to get involved in these, because this is what developers do. They collaborate. They collaborate either in the same room or in a distributed way, massively distributed like this. And so wrapping it around something that is for good of human beings is just all the better. All right, so World Innovation Day, very cool. Thanks for the overview. Appreciate it. And just to let everybody know, yourself included, I'm going to have several other interviews with some people who were involved, and hopefully the winners as well in a couple of weeks, or whenever they're actually announced. It'd be cool to get some perspectives of some people who were actually involved and who built the solutions to help whoever they're helping. Yeah, sounds cool. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, Franco.
Thank you for your time, Jim.